Hello, epic viewers from around the multiverse. Prepare to bask in unprecedented glory, because today I'm going to elucidate why I'm done buying action figures in 2019. So why am I going to abstain anti-system, refrain from buying action figures? Well, let me just shed light on that answer to that inquiry right here, right now, and demystify your suspicions. I love Diamond Select action figures. I love NECA action figures. NECA creates robust, high-quality, state-of-the-art figurines that have merit in every facet, as well as Diamond Select. And the prices of Diamond Select figures are somewhat reasonable relative to other high-quality figurines. As you can see, these action figures are meticulously detailed. They have high-quality sculpts, high-quality shadings, high-quality textures, and of course, quality decos, as you can unequivocally see. These two figures are the Devil and the Harley Quinn Demon from Diamond Select's Nightmare Before Christmas action figure line. I also have other figures within the series, so I apologize about the little digression. The problem is, the crux of the issue is that the costs are too exorbitant. When you've been in school your whole life, you wind up accruing student debt, and as you know, the interest accrues into the principal each and every day. You could put your loans on forbearance, but that could bear ramifications and repercussions, and when you pay the interest, you're not paying off the principal, so it becomes this insurmountable dire issue of having to get out of debt when you're working 3 jobs, barely earning anything, and having to pay interest on top of the principal that ramps up the debt each and every day. So action figures, as you guys know, are luxury items. They're like amenities. They serve no pragmatic purpose. Sure, they can render you more elated, more euphoric, more buoyant, more gleeful, more ecstatic. But at the end of the day, they impinge on your financial well-being, to say the least. You know, collecting anything can render you destitute, indigent, impoverished, and even if you do it on a budget, it still is an unnecessary expense to incur. If you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you know, you need food for sustenance. You need distilled water to retain your vessel in this little simulation, and you need some semblance of housing. Action figures don't provide any of that. They're essentially equivalent to amenities. You know, they have no utility other than rendering you happier. So it's unfortunate, it's quite a shame. Action figures have a proclivity to appreciate in value, especially the high quality, covetable ones. But if you're not a reseller, and if you don't even have the display space to flaunt your action figures, then it defeats the purpose of collecting. Your collecting efforts will be in vain and futile if your action figures are relegated to a storage unit, a storage container, drawers, closets. So it is unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's a dire, bleak, grim situation when you have to just incessantly sacrifice just to be able to put calories in your mouth and to have the energy to show up to work. And working obviously puts a damper on your mood, and it compromises your health because it encroaches on your sleep schedule, your eating schedule, and it impinges on your ability to alleviate stress, especially when customers are irate, belligerent, and wind up vectoring their rage, animus, and rancor towards you constantly. So it is what it is, you know, but practically all jobs are unpleasant to work per se, and that's why people earn fiat currency for their finite, sacrosanct, non-replenishable, indispensable, invaluable time, which is your most valuable commodity, by the way. The jobs were pleasant, they were desirable, they were covetable, then you would likely have to pay to work them, and not the other way around, where the employer pays you. And of course, when you work, you're siphoned out of so much of your wealth. I mean, in the U.S., there's 8 forms of income tax, and there's well over 13,000 tax codes. So it just deters you from wanting to work, but at the same time, you need fiat currency to pay your bills and to feed yourself fruits and vegetables that are in a state of distress. By distressed fruit that's marred, sullied, and partially oxidized, but it is what it is. I can't afford to buy unripened fruit. It's outside the parameters of my very minute budget. So, I mean, I do love action figures, don't get me wrong, and I try to get them for the absolute lowest possible prices, to the point where so many sellers on eBay have blocked me because they don't like dealing with people who haggle on the prices, and they find it to be disrespectful, even though they don't understand that it's nothing against them or their character. It's just the way the market operates. You know, if someone is asking $100 for this, and I ask them to sell it for $15, they'll take umbrage to that, and they won't understand that I'm just trying to buy figures at a more reasonable price that is semi-affordable. However, they take that to be a personal insult against their character or wits. It doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. But that's a topic for another time. You know, action figures, they used to cost $8 plus tax, 32 to 40 points of articulation. They had high quality decals, high quality shadings, high quality hues, high quality designs, high quality sculpts. They came with stellar accessories, and they came with a Build-A-Figure piece for a robust, bulky, hefty, burly, extraordinary, state-of-the-art 14 to 16 inch Build-A-Figure. Today, action figures retail anywhere from $20 to $80 plus tax, and they don't offer even the same level of value as an $8 figure turned out by Toy Biz. You know, NECA and Diamond Select Toys are pretty much only action figure companies that offer value for your hard-earned money today. The Mezco action figures are eminently overpriced. The Hasbro figures are shoddy and chintzy, and Hasbro always does a slipshod job churning out their newer figures. You know, they don't vindicate even a $10 price point from my perspective. Sometimes I concede paying $10 when I lack a figure of that character that's been produced. What else? Mattel no longer is contracted with the Four Horsemen Studios for the production of DC Multiverse products. The Four Horsemen Studios company sculpted the DC Universe Classics action figure line, which was incredible. They also sculpted the Masters of the Universe Classics line, which was also incredible as well. But since they don't utilize top-notch sculptors, and since they ramped up the prices, you're not able to get your money's worth when you buy DC Multiverse figures. DC Direct, they make decent figures, but I don't believe they merit the price. They're too non-durable. Their appendages are too lean and slim and scrawny, and they're easily breakable. You can definitely resonate with me when you get action figures in the mail engulfed in bubble wrap that arrive with severed appendages and heads. You know, it's just quite tragic, to say the least. You may contact the seller after this calamity transpires and have no recourse, especially if the eBay size in the seller's favor. The seller did their utmost best to safeguard the figures under the shipping process, and if they arrive broken, they don't perceive themselves as being negligent for that incident occurring, even though in my opinion they are. If your action figures arrive beheaded with severed appendages, the seller should at least issue a partial refund, in my opinion. But if eBay sides with the seller or PayPal does, you have no recourse. The credit card company will likely side with the seller as well. So there's no real appeal process to a mutual third party that's impartial, fair, and wise. But that's a topic for another day. Yeah, so when you have debt, and even when you have a positive net worth, you don't need to be collecting anything. It behooves people to invest their money in index funds, mutual funds, something that is an income generating asset and not something that's a liability. A house becomes ravaged over time, unfortunately. People like to believe it appreciates, but if it were left alone, it would become dilapidated, tattered, worn out. It would succumb to plight. Or I should say blight. Sorry about that. I believe blight is a correct word. So yes, it would be possibly blighted. And that would be the plight of the house. So the blight of the house becomes the plight of the house. And that's what transpires when you're a homeowner who is neglectful about maintaining your property. So I view a home as a liability. And income generating assets are unequivocally unaffordable when you need to pay for housing, internet, which is marked up anywhere from 6,000 to 9,000%, utilities, car insurance, and other expenses that are part of the cost of living. When your income is low, when your income is low, and when taxes are high, the cost of living is unequivocally exorbitant, and the standard of living is eminently low. So that's a correlation. The cost of living rises, the standard of living plunges into the abyss. Under duress, the individual needs car insurance, so they want to operate their private conveyance. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. In 2019, under duress, people needed house insurance. If not, they'd have to succumb to paying a penalty. So we live in a controlled market, and you can't control how you want your money to be earmarked, that you work yourself to earn. And there's 8 forms of income tax, so that also siphons your wealth and it deters you from wanting to work. So really, unless you're wealthy, and have an exorbitant amount of money that you could afford to dispose of while affording everything else you need, you don't have the luxury of being able to collect, hoard, and flaunt glorious, marvelous works of artistry on your shelves. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. My bills are too high, and unfortunately I need to abstain from collecting action figures. And this is why I'm going to stop collecting action figures in 2019. It's just unequivocally unaffordable. Even when I get them used for the lowest possible prices via eBay, I rarely get action figures new. For these 2 particular figures, the lowest prices on these figures was their new price. I couldn't find both of these used for a lower price, or else I would have got them used. I recollect paying under $24 for them on eBay. So about $12 each, but I guess I could vindicate it because they're high quality figures and they're unique and they're novelty items. But when you have debt, it truly stifles you and should be paid off. Because if you don't pay it off in a punctual, timely manner, you're going to wind up paying thousands of dollars in interest payments, and you're essentially hemorrhaging your wealth, your future, your dignity, your time, and your happiness. I hope they found this video to be enthralling, insightful, and captivating. Have a wonderful, glorious, blissful day. Goodbye.